So at this point, I've probably done close to 100 most complimented videos or more. That's what people really want to see, at least it seems that way. Those videos seem to do the best. Kind of seems like that's a pretty good gauge of interest. That's what gets a lot of people into this hobby, which I think is really cool. And I'm always glad to see new people coming in and kind of realizing that there is a whole community based around men's cologne. I never knew that was a thing until I got started. It's a really good segue to get into this hobby. And then from there, you kind of start to find out what you like, and then maybe you really start to develop an interest for it. But one thing that I haven't done as much is talked about fragrances that don't get you compliments. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to be going over fragrances that you should not be wearing if you care about smelling good to people and getting compliments. However, I'm also not going to leave you hanging either. At the end of the video, we are going to be covering a few compliment pulling fragrances. However, they're ones that you don't hear about every day. They're kind of not your run-of-the-mill Sauvage, Aqua de Jo, Dylan Blue, but, you know, Armani, Stronger With You types, nothing like that. They are some different selections, but we kind of have a lot to cover. Let's get things kicked off with what you shouldn't be wearing if you value your reputation as a good smelling guy. This is Joop Homme Eau de Parfum. Now, there's going to be a trend here. With all of these that I say you shouldn't wear if you want compliments, I actually really end up liking a lot of them. You know, they smell great to me because they are unique and different. However, that's not always a good thing when you're trying to appeal to the masses. And that's the case here. You know, it's very syrupy, very rich, sweet, but kind of in a uncomfortable way sometimes. It's got honey, hazelnut, heliotrope. You know, the original kind of has a cough medicine, syrupy smell, and this one has a bit of that going on too. I will say this one is worlds better than the original Joop Homme. I would take this over that any day, and I would, you know, reach for this one more than I would that, where the original, I would never reach for it. This, I could see myself every now and then maybe wanting something a bit more daring, and I'd throw it on. There's also Joop Homme Le Parfum, which is really good. Joop Homme Wild. They have a few really good flankers that get good compliments. Those two there won't do too bad of a job. But this one, it's still too far on the syrupy and heavy side to where I think this could be a bit more of a daring one. And there's always going to be outliers of people saying, hey, I wore that and I got compliments. You know, that's definitely still a possibility. But the odds are not going to be in your favor with some of these. But if you do want something just a little bit more out of the ordinary, if you want to stand out and you don't really care what other people think, as long as you like how this smells, I mean, this would be a great option for you. You know, one thing I will say is it does have really good performance, and that also can sometimes hurt the ability of a scent to appeal to people. If it's something that already is kind of overpowering and strong and too cough medicine smelling, and then it gets to the point where you can't even escape it, and it's so strong it's just attacking everybody, it's going to make that scent smell even worse. It might go from a 5 out of 10 to, you know, a 2 out of 10 for somebody if it's that strong. So this one, it has a lot kind of going against it in that regard, but still it's relatively affordable and something a bit different. Next up, we have Mancera Intense Red Tobacco. So as if the original wasn't strong enough and potent enough already, well, they came out with an extrait, an intense version. You know, this is the second time that they've done this. They started off with Cedrat-Boisé, which I think made a lot of sense and was really good. This one is kind of a situation where I don't necessarily think that it might be all that required. You know, it might not be something that a lot of people are going to seek out. And really, the original Red Tobacco could be in this video as well. They could kind of go hand in hand here because both of them are very strong and very focused on tobacco, but not only tobacco, quite a bit of oud as well. Getting some oud and some patchouli, and you know, the oud smell is a Mancera oud. It's something that they've used in a lot of their fragrances, and it's a very specific compound and style of oud. It's not going to be the most natural smelling oud, but it gives it that Mancera smell. That's what you've got going on here. Typically, tobacco could be used in a positive way in scents that pull a lot of compliments. You know, look at Dolce & Gabbana The One and Spice Bomb Extreme and so many others out there, designer and niche. But if you start kind of throwing in some other notes alongside of it and you really just amp up the impact and the style, the types of tobacco that you're using, it can start to get a little bit overpowering. And again, red tobacco, it could be something that would get you a compliment here or there. You know, for someone, they might smell this on you and think, hey, you know, I respect that. You're wearing something that is really strong and kind of pushing the boundaries. That's really cool. Some people like that. Some people might just like how this smells. But again, it's a numbers game when it comes down to stuff like this. And you're not going to be able to compete with the Sauvage wearers and the Dylan Blue wearers and Bleu de Chanel and all that stuff. I mean, those are just going to run circles around you as far as mass appeal and compliments go. But this one, it is going to kind of help you stand out from the pack the most. So it's always kind of a give or take. You know, one good thing about these is that they're pretty affordable, even being niche. The regular red tobacco, you can get as low as $75, $80 for 120 ml full presentation. This Intense, given that it's a little bit newer, is right around 100. Still isn't bad. Next up, we have Dunhill Icon Elite. So I really am a big fan of the Dunhill Icon series. I think they're great. Honestly, I think the original is the best. And to me, from there, the flankers get less and less desirable to me. This one's got cardamom, pepper, bitter orange, spicy, woody, has a leather note in here too, which you pick up on a little bit. Not too crazy strong, but it is there. Nothing about this scent is bad. You know, I've talked about it before in videos. I like how it smells. Again, it's something a bit unique. It's quite a bit different than the original Dunhill Icon. It's different than a lot of other designer releases out there. It's, again, very woody, peppery, and spicy. It just doesn't have, you know, the mass appeal charm. It doesn't have that kind of trendy sparkle that a lot of mass-pleasing, compliment-pulling fragrances have. Again, you know, just like I've said with these others, here or there, you know, someone might throw a compliment your way, say, hey, you smell good, you know, that's different, that's interesting, whatever. But it's not going to hold up in the long term. And if you do really care about getting compliments, I mean, for this price, there are tons and tons and tons of other fragrances out there that's going to give you significantly better odds. But again, it comes down to if you want something unique and you just don't care, this is a good option for you because I do really like it. I'm not hating on any of these fragrances just because they're not super mass pleasing doesn't mean that they're bad, right? I like how they smell, but they do have their own use cases and you know, that's something to keep in mind. This one does have a good amount of versatility to it. You could use it in fall, winter, and even early spring. Summer is about the only time of year I wouldn't be gravitating towards this one just because of how woody and spicy and rich it is. But it's another affordable one. It brings a lot to the table for a pretty low price. You know, something to check out if you just don't care what other people think about you. And last up for the fragrances you shouldn't really be wearing if you do value compliments and positive, you know, feedback from others. It's Amouage Interlude 53. I mean, this stuff is an absolute powerhouse. Kind of like Intense Red Tobacco. You know, the original Interlude is so strong, and it's you know, already kind of a daring one. And then they said, okay, let's put this into a 53% Parfum concentration. That's what the 53 stands for. Just like Reflection 45, that's 45%. I mean, gosh, that is strong stuff, and it shows. Got smoke, leather, opopanax, and oud in here among quite a few other notes. I think there's a patchouli in here, which would be kind of par for the course for something like this. But wow, so powerful, so strong. But it also has such a classy, elegant, refined smell to it. You know, this stuff is the furthest thing from affordable. Retails for $500. Every now and then it'll come in stock on discounters for a bit less, but not all that common. And you know, you're still going to be paying upwards of $300+ for it. You know, same thing with the original Interlude. It's not going to be, you know, at the top of the list as far as mass-pleasing fragrances go. You know, one thing I will say is Interlude Black Iris might not be a bad option if you still want to be daring, but have something that is going to kind of have better odds at getting good feedback compared to this and the original. I really like Black Iris. It has iris in there, no surprise, and it just kind of softens up this DNA just a little bit, makes it more wearable, makes it a little bit more forgiving as far as the versatility is concerned. You could use it in a wider variety of situations, and it's overall easier to wear, easier to pull off, and it's not crazy expensive either on discounters. Black Iris is a really good release. This one, while I love how it smells, it's something that is just you know, for niche lovers and for people who want something extreme and different, this checks off those boxes, but it's not going to be something that you would want to wear if you're valuing compliments. Alrighty guys, and like I said, I'm not going to leave you hanging. You know, I've done a lot of most complimented videos, but here are a few options that you can wear that you just don't hear about every day, right? So these are going to be ones that if you do really want people to come up and say, hey, you smell good, what is that? Or whatever it might be, coworkers, friends, family, whatever. These are going to be able to achieve that for you. Diesel Feel for Life. Man, you know, Diesel as a designer brand for fragrances, they get a ton of hate, ton of disdain. It's probably not even the right word, but you know, nobody ever really says, hey, when's the new Diesel fragrance coming out? Just like you might with Chanel and even Dior, Armani, and so on. Nobody's ever saying that about Diesel. And to some extent, I understand. However, they do have a few really good releases, and this is nothing new. I mean, this has been out for a very long time. The bottle is very cool and unique. The name, you know, cool. I mean, I really like the aesthetic of it. However, what I do like even more is the scent. I love how it smells. I'm not afraid to admit it. It's got raspberry, lavender, and woody notes. Smells great. There's nothing about this that I dislike at all. I mean, this could easily be something that I could wear several days in a row as like a little signature scent and not get tired of it. At this point in time, with so many things to choose from and new fragrances that I'm testing all the time, I just don't really have that ability anymore. But if I did, you know, this is something that I could get hooked on and kind of reach for it several days in a row, especially in spring and more mild summer days. Like today, it's a kind of a rainier, gloomier summer day. And this would be perfect for this stuff. To me, it is unique. I mean, yes, it's so popular that it you know, kind of lost that charm, just like Dolce & Gabbana The One, people have talked about, just like the original Acqua di Gio, just like Le Male, just like La Nuit de l'Homme. It gets so popular that people then say it's generic. It's a victim of its own success. I think that happened here. How often do you see raspberry used in men's fragrances? Not very often, at least compared to a lot of the other fruity notes out there. Smells great. It's affordable on discounters. People love how it smells. People go crazy for this stuff. Diesel Feel for Life. I love it. There are a few flankers out there, but they're discontinued, which sucks because I really want them. I only have I think I've got the summer edition, and that's about it. I don't have Fuel for Life Spirit, and I think there's a couple others that I really want, but I can't get them. Bond number 9, Bleecker Street. You know, if nothing else, the bottle on this is absolutely stunning. I mean, I really do love it. Usually bottles don't really excite me all that much at this point. You know, when I was first starting out getting into niche and expensive designer, I was all about the presentation. I wouldn't buy something if the bottle didn't look cool. That's a fact, you know. And it's not the good way to go about it, and I don't anymore, but there was a point where bottle meant everything. But this is one that I still do look at, and I'm like, yeah, that is just cool to have. If nothing else, look at that presentation. But luckily, the scent is really good too. So this one has blueberry, which is another unique fruit that's not used often. You got quite a bit of oak moss in here, giving it that green woody smell, and then some violet leaf, giving it kind of a purpley, ozonic, watery, light smell. So love how it smells. It kind of is built for springtime, in my opinion. You know, just the green facets of this one, and just it kind of gives you that feeling of everything thawing out and color coming back into the world. Everything's all dead and dry over winter time, and everything's starting to come back. That's what this one kind of embodies to me. You know, something that's kind of similar that came out first that's a little bit more affordable is Ralph Lauren Purple Label, using blackberry instead of blueberry, but also uses a ton of oak moss. They are quite similar with a few minor differences. That one's great too, and a bit more affordable like I'd mentioned. But, you know, if you want to spend a little bit more and get a blueberry-oriented scent instead of a blackberry-oriented scent, this one's good. And the presentation on this is better. You know, nothing wrong with Purple Label bottle. I actually like it too, but this takes the cake. Good stuff that people really like, and, I mean, it's just another one that smells different, but in a good way. I think people will be surprised when they smell this when you're walking by. You know, it's a head turner. Next up, we have Mr. Burberry Eau de Parfum. You know, Burberry, kind of like Diesel, where people just aren't waiting around for a new Burberry fragrance to come out, you know? But this one, it's not half bad, really. I mean, it's got cardamom, lavender, and patchouli. It's not unique. It's not exciting. However, it does smell fantastic. It smells kind of like a mall scent, you know, something that you would smell like in a magazine. You know, you peel the page back and then you can smell it, you know, magazine tester strips, kind of smells like that, just that style. It's a very, very, you know, run-of-the-mill, masculine-smelling designer scent. So just throwing that out there, you know, there's nothing exciting and fun about this one. However, I mean, this is the type of thing that people just love, you know. I think having that level of commonality can sometimes really help a scent to get good compliments, because if people have felt as though they've smelled that before or smelled something similar to that before, then it kind of helps them to facilitate a compliment and say, you know, hey, you smell great, because in their mind, it rings a bell. That's why Sauvage and all these other overhyped compliment pullers still work really well, even though people have smelled it tons of times. I mean, they're still apt to at least say something about it. I don't think this one is too crazy expensive either. Usually Burberry fragrances aren't. Definitely a good one to have around for compliments. Last up for this video, we have Jean Paul Gaultier Scandal Le Parfum. It's got tonka bean, sandalwood, geranium. It's better than the original for me, in my opinion, but I still don't really care for it all that much. It's not one that I gravitate towards. I have other fragrances out there that kind of do a similar thing that I just prefer better. You know, it's not bad. It's not a bad scent. It's a great compliment getter, but it doesn't really jump out at me when I'm choosing my scent of the day. But that being said, if you want essentially a foolproof compliment pulling fragrance, this is a great one to look into. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for me. Some fragrances you shouldn't wear if you want compliments, but also a couple that you should consider. I'll link them all down below so you can check these out and do some shopping as you wish. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.